President George Washington.
My name is George Washington. I was born on February 22nd, 1732 in West Highland Country, Virginia. People said I was a good leader. I insisted upon a neutral course until the United States could grow stronger.
John Adams.
I became the president in 1789. After the revolution in 1783, I went to France to sign the Treaty of Paris, and I became the first U.S. ambassador. I have served George Washington. My eldest son, John Quincy Adams, became the 6th president 1 year before I died.
Our third president, Thomas Jefferson.
As president, I arranged the purchase of the Louisiana Territory from France in 1803. The Louisiana Purchase increased the area of the United States tremendously. It had an area of 828,000 square miles. Soon after, in 1804, I sent Lewis and Clark to map the lonely acre western USA territory.
Our next president is James Madison.
I helped form the Bill of Rights. I was the 4th President of the United States of America. I settled the conflict between the U.S. and British armies.
Abraham Lincoln.
I accepted to cause the eventual ending of slavery by stopping its further exportation into any U.S. territory and by persuading states to accept if the state would lose slavery in this way would make it end.
Andrew Johnson.
My wife Elizabeth taught me to read. I was the only president who made my own suits. During my term, the United States purchased Alaska and Nebraska became a state. The crowd cheered and waved flags to honor the brave troops that had won the war. I wrote cartoons during my term.
Ulysses S. Grant.
For president in 1869, the voters thought of me as a war hero. I was a very honest man. During my campaign for re-elected in 1872, I was attacked by liberal Republican reform.
Grover Cleveland.
I became a lawyer. I had 2 boys and 2 girls. During my first year in office, my younger sister Rose acted as I was the only person who served 2 terms.
Theodore Roosevelt.
At North White 43, I became the youngest president in the nation's history. At that time, I brought new excitement and power to presidency, as I energetically led Congress and the American public toward progressive reforms and a strong foreign policy.
President Woodrow Wilson.
1917, I proclaimed America entrance in World War I. I made the world much safer when World War I started. I did 2 terms. I got picked by 42 votes. I was the 28th president. I died on February 3rd, 1924.
Warren G. Harding.
Scandals, including the teapot, the scandal which tarnished my reputation, overshadowed almost everything else I did in my term.
Herbert Hoover.
What I did for the U.S. in my presidency is that I organized food relief for Berlin. 1 week before I celebrated my 40th birthday in London, Germany declared a war on France. The American Council asked for help on getting stranded tourists home.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
I was chosen president in 1920. I helped build a national base. By the way, my presidency was hard, but that was my dream. I made a lot of speeches, plus I was president during World War II. I was considered one of the most powerful presidents. Now I hope I've made a difference.
S. Truman.
I went to World War II in Europe. I became a senator in 1934. During World War II, I had a Senate war investigating committee. I wanted more public housing, not only for education, higher wages, government, protected civil rights, and national health insurance.
D. Eisenhower.
Alaska and Hawaii became states during my second term. Schools were desegregated. This meant that children of all races went to the same school. The military was also desegregated.
F. Kennedy.
While I was president, I set out to redeem my campaign pledge to get America's leading again. I called for new civil rights. The Republicans chose Vice President Richard Nixon to run against me for the presidency. I also started programs that touched the world.
Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Kennedy's was assumed. I was sworn and as president. I won by the large margin in the 1964 presidential election.
Richard M. Nixon.
I was the 37th president of the United States. I went to school at Water High School. I was married to Patricia Ryan. I had 2 daughters, Trisha and Julie. For my presidency, I succeeded in ending American fighting in Vietnam and improving relations with the USSR and China, but the Watergate scandal brought fresh divisions to the country and led to my resignation.
Gerald M. Ford.
I was the only vice president of the United States to become president upon the Richard M. Nixon as president on August 9, 1972, and I took the office that same day when Nixon left.
The Peanut Man, Jimmy Carter.
I was America's 39th president. I campaigned hard against President Gerald R. Ford, debating with him 3 times. I'm still alive. I tried to keep peace among the nations.
Ronald Reagan.
I was re-elected president in 1970. I won the Republican presidential nominee in 1980 and chose as his running mate former Texas Congressman and United Nations Ambassador George Bush. Voters troubled by year-long commitment of Americans often.
George Herbert Walker Bush.
Presidency began on January 20 in 1989. I entered the office at a period of change in the world of the fall of the Berlin Wall in Europe and the collapse of Russia. I became early in the wonderful presidency and by the order military to go to Bama and
Bill Clinton.
I was 46 when I took office. I was the 3rd youngest person ever to serve as president after Theodore Roosevelt and John F. Kennedy. In October 1993, I sent Congress a plan for sweeping reform of the nation's healthcare system. Today, I live in New York and help the country with foreign affairs.
George W. Bush.
soon after I was elected, I signed a major tax cut into law. I faced the greatest challenge on September 11, 2001. Thousands died after terrorists flew hijacked airplanes into the World Trade Center in New York City and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C. I called the global war of terrorists.
Our current President, Barack Obama.
I became the first African American elected to be president. I attended the G20 London Summit and later visited United States troops in Iraq. I addressed a global financial summit and have included in tax policies. I hope I have made a difference.